So one night, some buddies and I are hanging out, playing some Grand Theft Auto and having a few beers. Anyway, it's my turn, and I pick up a kill frenzy. So I start killing. And my buddy Ted, who's built like a linebacker but has a tolerance of a 6-year-old girl, well, he's getting into it. The scary kind of into it. And he's just yelling, yeah, kill that bitch. And then a cop shows up on the screen, so I start shooting at him. You get more points for killing a cop than you do for a civilian. And Ted, he just goes ape shouting, kill the cop, kill the cop. Now here's the thing. I have an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, who is all up in my all the time. Usually I try to keep it down. But like I said, we're having a few, and all she hears is shooting and Ted yelling, kill the cop, kill the cop. Now, we had the sound up pretty loud, and we heard some sirens. But we thought it was in the game, until my door gets kicked in, and the real cops rush in, guns drawn, yelling at us to get down on the ground. We all got sober real fast, except for Ted, who peed his pants. So the cops look around and realize we were just playing GTA, so they stick me with a citation for disturbing the peace. I made Ted pay for it, and my door, and to have my carpet cleaned. One question though. Does this go down on my permanent record?
Every time my jag-off roommate Mo would beat me at NBA jams, he'd rub it in my face. Then one day, a buddy of mine showed me a cheat code that helped me take my game to a whole new level. I whipped Mo's ass 25 straight times. He gets so pissed, he grabs the Sega and throws it out the window. Moments after the Sega plummets to the earth, smashing some poor schlub's windshield, we hear pounding on our door. Stupid me opens it, and I come face to face with a set of washboard abs that belong in a Bowflex ad. Standing there holding the Sega console is an immense man dressed in a black leather trench coat and sunglasses. This is where things get ugly. Mo pretends to be asleep, leaving me to reason with Mr. Abs. And before I can say it was that a-hole, Mr. Abs and I come to an understanding. I won't have to pay for his windshield if he doesn't have to pay for my dental work. But the thing that really pissed me off was hearing Mo giggle underneath his covers. So, knowing that, can you fault me for making his bed my personal latrine?
Hey! Not on my whoopee!
So my lame-o dad surprises me and buys me a totally sweet Xbox 360 for Christmas. He thinks we're gonna bond with it or something. I think not. I never play with him in a million years. He wears his pants up to his chest and thinks some group called Pearl Jam is still cool. He's like way old. But there's this one guy on Xbox Live, Destructor993. I think he's like 30 or something. He knows all these killer moves. He's the only old guy I play with. So anyway, last week, Dad walks into the room, and he's all, betcha the old man can really kick your butt on that thing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. My dad can't even change the battery on a cell phone without getting electrocuted. So how is he gonna play a video game? But then he says he'll buy me a new car for my 16th birthday if I can beat him. And I'm like, game on. So I think I'm totally gonna school him. But he busts out all these crazy combos. The flippin' bone breaker, the Shaolin slam, moves I've only seen one guy do. I look over at Dad, and he just winks at me and smiles. Then it hit me. My dad is Destructor993. Unbelievable. Now, nobody comes over to play me anymore. They all want to take on the Destructor. I guess if this is the kind of bonding he wants to do, I'm cool with it. I just wish he'd stop calling me dog.
I had just moved in with my girlfriend Karen. I'd never lived with a woman before, I mean other than my mom. It was kind of an adjustment for me, but I was ready to make a go of it. Karen's really into talking about her feelings, and we were doing this Dr. Phil negotiating our usness stuff. I was really trying, but our usness left no time for meanness. So, one day Karen goes to visit her mom, and I finally get a chance to play with my new console, the one with the awesome wireless controller. I'm playing baseball, and I'm throwing fastballs like Roger Clemens. We're talking Roger Clemens hitting Mike Piazza in the helmet fastballs. It's the bottom of the ninth. 2 outs, and I have a 2-strike count on their cleanup hitter. The crowd is roaring. I wind up in release, and the frickin' controller flies out of my hand. Then I hear, "Yow!" It's Muffy, Karen's cat. The controller hit her right between the eyes. At first, I thought Karen's furry 4-legged baby was dead because she wasn't moving at all. But then she started twitching and ran under the couch. I tried to get her out so I could take her to the 24-hour pet clinic, but then the stupid cat tried to kill me. At least it wasn't my pitching hand. So I wiped all the fur and drool off the controller and finished the inning. And all I can say is, move over Mariano Rivera, I am undefeated. I finally did get the cat to the vet. He said Muffy's eyes would eventually uncross. In the end, it turns out that no matter how hard you work on negotiating usness, maiming a girl's cat is still a deal breaker.
My girlfriend thinks I have a Lara Croft obsession. Totally not true. Do I spend a lot of time playing Tomb Raider? Sure, but so what? I like it. Anyhow, for some reason, she thinks it's a big, weird deal that I started collecting Lara Croft merchandise. Okay, so I have a poster in my office, and some figurines, and a drawing I commissioned from a big-time comic book artist of Lara Croft in bikini bottoms, and holsters, and not much else. What's so weird about that? I know Lara Croft isn't real, I just think she's hot. Now, let me be clear about a couple of things. I also happen to think my girlfriend is hot, and I have no problem distinguishing between fantasy and reality. Of course, sometimes the line does get a little blurry, you know? Like a couple of nights ago, we were hanging out, and the talk turned to matters of, shall we say, intimacy and fantasy. And she asked if I had any fantasies, right? Well, of course I have fantasies, I'm a guy. And since she asked, I shared. I thought it would be cool if she dressed up like Lara Croft for me. And then I pulled out a Lara Croft costume. That turned out to be something of a mood killer. She said, "No way am I putting that on." And when I reminded her that she asked what my fantasy was, she said, "I'm in a normal fantasy, like having a threesome." Well, I was blown away. "You'd do that," I said, "but not dress up like Lara Croft?" And much to my surprise, she said yes. And that got me thinking, maybe I can get the other girl to put on the Lara Croft costume. You do think she meant another girl, right?
You may find this surprising, but I'm a guy, and I don't care for strippers. Or Halloween, which just happened to be the night before my wedding. So when my buddies told me we were going out for my bachelor party, I told them, no thanks. But they said, relax, your holiness, we're just going to Dave & Buster's. Even my fiance told me to go have some fun. So I go, and we're playing skee ball in the arcade, when my friends inform me that I'm next for Dance Dance Revolution. Did I mention how much I hate dancing? They shove me onto the platform, and standing there waiting to play is a girl dressed exactly like a stripper in a black leather dominatrix outfit. I say, nice stripper costume thingy. She just smirked at me. It was the longest song of my life, and yet everything happened so quickly. We start dancing, and she squeezes my butt, and I just freeze. Then she hops on me, wraps her legs around my waist, and puts my hands where I'm certain they're not supposed to be. Then I see one of my friends holding a video camera. That's when I lost it. I started running in circles, screaming, "Get her off me! Somebody get her off me!" Everyone's laughing, and I'm completely mortified. Finally, she releases her death grip, and I sprint out of the restaurant and hop a cab back to my apartment. Soon after I get home, there's a soft knock on my door. It's my fiancée. As I'm mumbling to myself that it's bad luck for me to even see her the night before the wedding, I opened the door and realized it was too late for that, and that the honeymoon was gonna be spectacular.
For me, there are video games, and then there's everything else. I like to play video games more than I like eating or sleeping or having sex. More than eating or sleeping. So when I first started playing King of Fighters, I guess I went a little overboard. If you define 31 straight hours as overboard. Gamers don't. The rest of the world probably does, though. Anyhow, around 2 a.m., my blood sugar's nearing like catatonic levels, and I set out for food. Probably not in my sharpest mental state, which hopefully explains what happens next. I walk around the corner. I'm facing two guys with, how do I put it, anger management issues. One of them says something about my wallet, and before I could respond, he takes a swing at me. Right? Understand I'm not a big guy, but whoever said you can't learn anything playing video games probably never played 31 straight hours of King of Fighters. Because as the guy winds up, I instinctively drop back and duck his punch. And then I grab his arm and sweep the legs, knocking him to the ground. Okay, still in the moment, I turn to his friend and strike a badass Rugal Bernstein pose straight out of the game. The guy just freaks and runs away. All right, now fast forward a couple of weeks. It's late, I'm out on a date, and as we cross an alley, we meet up with the type of guy who, hangs out in alleys. He demands my date's purse. And suddenly, it's like something out of Kill Bill, the flashback part. Once again, I strike my best Rugal Bernstein, but instead of running away, the guy punches me in the stomach, and I fold like a wet cardboard box. Looking back, I can deal with losing the girl, and even with the cops laughing hysterically. But the most humiliating part of this whole thing was something I could have sworn the guy said to me before he took off.
You got no game, punk.
That kind of hurt.